welcome back to my channel. We're going to be moving on to finishing our little fox's head and getting a few more details in there in this part of the tutorial. So everything you need is listed below as usual, and we're just going to get started straight away. Okay, so we're coming down our fox's face a bit more now. So just going to get my ivory and apply this as a base layer. Now remember, I'm not going to be including that big green leaf that is blurred out in the reference photo. I'm going to be removing that from my drawing, and I will show you and talk you through how I do that. Because there's occasions where you do it in your work. Let me just lift in some graphite, where there may be something you don't want to include, so you can use what you have in the reference photo to make it your own. Okay, so that's the base layer down. Okay, so I'm just going to use my burnt ochre as usual, just as almost another base layer to come down the face. Again, I'm looking at this fur direction, so about here is where we've got that leaf. All I'm doing is looking where the fur direction is on the right hand side of the leaf. So it's going this way, and then on this area it's coming this way, and then that means that in between I can tell that this fur is just going to keep following that curve. So you're reading both sides of that leaf or grass stalk, looking at both sides, drawing one side, drawing the other, and then use your knowledge of how the fur is falling on the rest of the face to build it up. Now, if you're struggling with that, you'll be able to, if you go to like Google or again on Splash Pixabay and type in fox head looking up or something like that, you may find similar images, a similar pose, and you may get a better sense of the fur direction if you're not able to do it the way that I've just described. But hopefully that has made a little bit of sense to you all. I'm then going to take my brown ochre, because it's a bit more orangey brown, yellow brown, sorry. And we're just going to start building up some layers. So this is all about building up that fur. And again, I'm constantly looking at the fur direction. Back to the burnt ochre. Back and forth over areas. Back to the brown ochre. So that was just the burnt ochre, now the brown ochre. And then I'm just going to run the ivory over the top here. I'm going to take my terracotta again. Just want a bit more of an orangey tone. Again, I'm leaving gaps between these pencil strokes, which is giving me some nice fur detail. And I'm just going to bring in a little bit more detail and a bit more of an orangey tone to our fox and the head. Just areas where I feel my drawing needs it, rather than what's on the reference photo. Right, so as we come down the ear, on this side I can still see that brown ochre tone. So again, I'm just following what I can see either side of where that leaf or grass stalk, I think it's a grass stalk, not a leaf, is. So here it's a bit more of the reddish tone. So I'm going to take my green gold first. So just coming in with a green gold on this side of her face. And I'm also just going to come in again with the brown ochre along the edge of this ear. Again, it's all about just building up detail, building up colour. And then into the burnt ochre, again just on this ear, just not quite happy with that finish. There we go. Okay, so over that green gold that we've added, I'm going to bring in my burnt sienna. And I've just picked up the wrong colour, burnt sienna. Very lightly again. This just adds a little bit of depth. And just blend it outwards. Okay, right, so I'm just going to take my burnt ochre again. And I'm now trying to work out what's going to be happening under that stalk. So I think it's going to be similar colour to what we've got going on here. So we're bringing in another layer of the burnt ochre. Okay. And then I'm also just going to take a little bit of the sanguine and just start to bring that in very lightly. I'm not pressing hard. And then I'll go back to the terracotta. Again, leaving gaps between those little markings that we're making. Like so. I'm just going to take my burnt ochre, a bit more in here. Just notice it's a little bit yellow there, so I'm just going to bring that back in there. Okay. Right, so we're going to keep coming down our fox's face, and I can see it's getting a bit more of this brown ochre colour, so I'm just going to start bringing that in across here, where again we know we've got that green stalk, but we're just going to make it look like it was never part of the drawing or part of the photo. So I'm using light pressure. We're just going to build it up very slowly. We're going to swap between this brown ochre and the burnt ochre. And it's just going to build up and give us a really nice tonal value and quality. And this is why we're not rushing, we're just going to take our time, slowly build it. Back to the brown ochre. Okay, so I can see I want a bit more of an orangey tone, so I'm going to, after I've done this brown ochre, I'm going to come in with the terracotta. So I've got the terracotta. Again, I'm leaving little gaps in areas. Back to the green gold. And then the burnt sienna, very light pressure. Because our fox isn't as deep a red as the burnt sienna. It's nice to bring this colour in for some shadow tones. Okay. Okay, I'm now going to take my Bista. So this is like now a nice warmer brown. And just start to bring that in along the edge of the face here. And I'm also going to bring this down where I think there'll be some of this colour behind that green leaf, stalk, grass, whatever it is. Yeah, just bring in the Bista. And then I'm going to go back to that burnt sienna. very light pressure. I'm not pressing hard, I just want this to act as a shadow. So I'm going up and under bits of fur using just light pressure. And then I can take my ivory and just go over the top of all this and just blend it seamlessly together. Okay, my vista. Again, leaving little gaps so it looks like we've got clumps of fur. Got all those colours shining through the fur. Back to the terracotta. Just a little bit more detail along here. Blending it outwards as well. And then the burnt ochre once more, just as a final layer to bring some of that nice orange fur forward. It really is about layering those colours and building it up till we get a nice looking fox head. Okay, let's get some of this white fur in. So we're going to the warm grey one as our base layer. I'm just going to do this little section of fur here. Now we need a lot of detail to come back into this fur. When you look at this, you can see it looks very almost blended and airbrushed, and that's because we've just got tonal values. We've not got any detail yet. So warm grey one as this base layer just in here so that I can work and blend these two areas together. Okay, so just going to take my cinnamon and it's going to come from the orange fur and just blend into that warm grey one area. Very lightly, not a lot, just very, very lightly. And then we're going to get our gold and our copper, and it's going to be a mixture of these two colours for this section of fur. So I'm going to use my gold first. Again, following the fur direction. Pencil strokes are a little longer, but still quite short, 'cause pencil strokes reflect the length of the fur. It's going to come a bit further down the face. Let me just get my warm grey one. I'm going to bring that base layer. Let me just, oops, let me erase this graphite line. I'm going to bring this white base layer down to curve around that face. So yeah, warm grey one base layer. Just going to bring it in across the bottom of this face, and this is the area that we're going to be working on building up on our fox's face. Okay, so that's the base layer down. So this is the area that we're going to be focusing on building up and looking like white fur. So yeah, back to the gold. Okay, I've just zoomed you in a bit, so hopefully you can see this now. So I'm just bringing that gold around this face. So obviously our fox in the photo, we can see it's in a green meadow type area, which is why I'm using this gold. You can kind of see it's got a bit of a greenish hue to it. So it works perfectly. We will get the warm greys involved and some browns, but just want to get that gold colour in first. And then we can work on top of the gold with all that other colours. Okay, so I'm not bringing that gold the whole way down, just enough on that face. And I'm going to bring it back in here. Now I'm working here with some details, so hopefully we're going to start almost like bringing this area into focus. So at the moment it looks quite airbrushed, very, very soft. So we want to start bringing in some details and bringing it into focus. Okay, I'm just going to get my cinnamon again over the top here. Very lightly. And then I'm going to get my warm grey 2, nice and sharp. Just bring in some detail. Okay, I'm going to get my copper, so I'm just going to bring that copper over the top in this corner. Right, now to the warm grey 3, again following fur direction. You can see we're going quite dark with our white fur on the head here, and that is fine. It's going to get even darker as we come down the neck, but we'll still end up with white looking fur. Okay, I'm going to just take my Nougat. We've got a bit of a brownish tone in here as well, so again this is all about just building up the colours, building up a nice cover of colours. What's happening in our little fox's fur. Right, and I'm just going to take that Nougat underneath the chin here. As well. You can see we're starting to get a nice shape to it, the head. Back to the warm grey 3. Over the top. I'm not pressing hard here either. I'm using very light pressure. If you want to work on your pressure, make sure you have done the horse eye tutorial. We only use 2 coloured pencils. We use the black and the white. Really good way of working out pressure. Right, I just want to take my burnt ochre because I don't like how this is looking here, so I'm just going to bring some of that burnt ochre. Just want it to look seamless. Okay, that looks better. It wasn't such a sharp line now. Right, so back to the Nougat. Underneath the chin as well. And we've also got a bit of a green tone. So I'm just going to use my earth green. I don't want it to be too in your face because we're not adding a background. Or I'm not. You can feel free to add a background if you want one in your piece. I'm not. Then my warm grey 2 over that earth green and Nougat mixture here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Vista. That's just going to darken. Actually, that's a bit too light. So let's get my burnt umber. We use the burnt umber because the Vista is a bit too light. So I'm just going to use that. Create a bit of depth. And in that little shadowed area there. And again, as it's coming, just mapping in the shape of our fox's head. Okay, then I'm going back to the warm grey 3, building up the colour. Once again, just layers and layers. That's all this is about. And then I think I'm going to take my warm grey 5, and again I'm going to leave gaps between the fur, but I'm going to start to bring in those darker shaded areas. So I'm using like little V's to bring in some of this darker fur. It's going to be primarily on the neck, but we want to start getting that nice blend in. Going back to my Nougat, I'm going to just build up along here, and then I'm going to go over this Nougat with a warm grey 3 again. Okay, bring that. And then I'm going to take my warm grey 1 and go over this whole area. The warm grey 1. Now you can see that this is really going to start to smooth out those details, but that's fine. We can bring them back. So back to the warm grey 3. Actually, I'm going to take the warm grey 4 for these final details. And again, I'm just going to follow the shape of the fur and just bring in details. So leaving gaps. And then I'm just going to take my gold once again. This corner. Back to the warm grey 4. And the burnt umber. The earth green. Back to the Nougat. Oops, sorry, I keep moving the drawing. Okay, and then the warm grey 2. Over that. Right, I'm just going to take my slice tool, and with a slice tool I'm just going to randomly just scrape away some of the pigment. Again, I'm doing this in the way that the fur is going. And it's just going to create some extra depth to our fur. Now you don't need to worry if you've not got a slice tool. You can add in some white hairs with a white pencil. Or you can just skip this step because it's not necessary, it's just like a bonus. Right. Hopefully you can see we're starting to get a really nice look on our fox. Go into the terracotta, and again I just want blend some of that terracotta into this grey fur. I want it to look like it's seamlessly changing from the orange fur to the terracotta. Again, I'm just going to bring some of that. Use the slice tool if you have it, just over the top. Remember, the slice tool will only work if you've got enough layers down. If it's not removing pigment, you've not got enough layers. You don't want to be scratching at the paper because you'll damage your paper. Okay, right, let's keep moving down our fox. Right, so just moved it down a bit. I'm just going to lift some of the graphite and we're going to go in with the ivory. So ivory is the base layer. Okay, right, we've got the base layer down, so we're going to start building up our tones again. So here it's quite light, so I'm coming in with a cinnamon first. And I am just again following that fur direction. Quite a big clump of fur. Oh, we need to bring that, I've not brought the base layer down here. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the burnt ochre first, again, as our base layer, blending into that white fur. So we want it all to look like it's part of the same fox. And even though we are drawing it in sections, we want it all to look like it's been done seamlessly. Right, and then I'm going to go with my brown ochre. Remember, we've got brown ochre in here. So we want it to just blend again. That's all this is about, is just making it all blend. And I'm just going to taper those strokes into that cinnamon area. Just want to work on this side of the fur first. And then over the top of that here, and we've just got the green gold. Again, it's very light, just making sure it all blends seamlessly. Okay, I'm going to do another layer of the burnt ochre. Okay, I'm then going to take my terracotta, bring in some nice orange fur. And then the sanguine. And then again with the burnt sienna, but very, very lightly. Now you could also use a purple for your shadows here if you really wanted to be brave. Bring in a purple for the shadows and it would work really nicely. But I'm just going to stick to my burnt sienna. And you can see I'm using very light pressure, but we're getting a nice deep shadow. And the terracotta. Just blend over there. Right, and then one more pass with the burnt ochre for this area, and then we'll blend into that light cinnamon that we've got going on there. So we're just going to take that, take the burnt ochre over the cinnamon area as well. So it is a bit of a faint light orangey yellow, so we'll just use the burnt sienna. So back to the cinnamon. Again, this is very light pressure. I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm just building up these layers very slowly. And then I'm going to take the light yellow ochre. And then blend all that together with the ivory. So harder pressure, and use the ivory to just give a nice burnished look. And then I'm going back in with that sharp burnt ochre, just bring in a little bit of detail. So you can see we're really starting to build up the fur here now. So got the ivory coming down here, just need to blend into that bit of fur. And it comes, oh, I've added a bit here that I probably don't want in. Okay, I will make sure that's removed from your line art. I don't think I'm gonna add that back leg in. That's what we're seeing. Just graphite, and I'm going to remove that line because I don't want that in. Okay, so your line art won't have that in, so you can just follow what we're doing with the base layer. Bring that down here. Right, let me work out. So we have the stalk coming up here, so this area is still going to be white, not white, orange fur. It's definitely not white. Okay, so got the base laid down. Okay, so burnt ochre again. Again, following that fur direction. On this neck. Really cute looking fox. Really enjoyed I know I've probably said this multiple times, but I have enjoyed this piece. It's nice doing a few wildlife pieces. Okay, and then only a little hint of cinnamon, of burnt ochre, sorry, on the edge. And then that's going to be cinnamon, so I'm going to come in with the cinnamon next. Okay, so we've got base layers in, and it's just now working on top of them again. Okay, so going back to the brown ochre, and I'm going to bring this down the side of the neck. Again, blending that. Okay, and then the green gold over the brown ochre side. And then I'm going back to the burnt ochre. Really emphasising this orange burnt ochre tone that we can see in the fur. Okay, really happy with this coming along nicely now. So I think after today's part, I may only be one part away from being finished. So it's another. I've been doing some quite quick tutorials recently. I'm going back to the cinnamon. I do hope you've been enjoying these tutorials though. Make sure you do tag me if you draw them, especially on Instagram, because I will share you to my Instagram story as well. Now taking the beige red, and I'm just going to press harder. Just blend that out. And then take the ivory on top of that. Okay, and then back to the burnt ochre, and with the burnt ochre I'm just going to create some fur coming over that. On the light yellow ochre, very gently, I'm not pressing too hard. Back to the burnt ochre. Actually, I'm going to get my Sanguine. And terracotta will be too bright. It's a little bit shaded down here, so I'm just going to bring the Sanguine in instead. And then again with the ivory just over, just to burnish that area. Okay, let's get some of this white fur added. So it's this white fur that might take a little bit of time, so we might not get this section of neck done, but we'll see how much we can do. So I'm just going to take my putty eraser and just lift some of the graphite. Even though it's going to get quite dark in here, I'm still going to lift some graphite. Right, and then I'm going to take our warm grey one. I just need to sharpen mine, and we'll apply warm grey one as a base layer. Okay, so I'm going to just start bringing in base layer. Now, when I look at this neck, this fur is curving round here, and it's curving down the neck, and it's curving round that neck. So we really need to focus on fur direction. I know I go on about it all the time. I'll annoy you all with it, but it's true. So I think I'm going to just map in this side of the neck first. And then we'll work on the other side if we have time. I'm going to try and make this one an hour long again. As a tutorial. I think an hour long tutorial is just long enough to concentrate. And I get some of you may be pausing and catching up. Okay, so base layer added. Okay, I've just zoomed you out a little bit so you can just see just about how much of this base layer I've got down. Now again, we've got some of the fur hidden behind the leaf, and I will show you how to approach that when we get to it. So I do have a bit of a bluish tone in the fur, so I'm just going to come in now with my warm grey 2 before we darken it up, and we're just going to bring in, and I'm going to do it across the whole area here. Very lightly, I'm just bringing in this blue tone with the cold grey 2. Okay, right, now let's start darkening up our fur. So, warm grey 4. Just need to sharpen mine. Now, I'm going in with the warm grey 4 because it is dark. So, there's no point working our way up. Warm grey 2, warm grey 3. When we've already got 2 base layers down, so let's just go straight in with the warm grey 4. And again, I'm following that fur direction. And remember, it's curving under, and I'm coming from that area that we've already drawn in. Again, just making sure that I'm following fur direction. See, we're just really starting to build up some depth now. And I'm using light pressure so that we can keep working on top of all of these layers. And then I've left this area, so we're going to blend that into that cool lighter area. So we come down the neck. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the reference photo, and I can see we've got the leaf, or the straw, not straw, grass strand here. So here I can see it's very light on the left hand side of that grass strand, but on the right hand side it's dark. So I know somewhere in between where that leaf is that it's lightening off. So that is exactly what I'm doing with my pencil strokes. Right, so we need to bring in some more colour into our neck. So I'm coming in with a Nougat. Especially underneath this, where the head is kind of joining the neck. And then I'm going to take my, we want to get a nice darker look. So I'm going to take my Van Dyke Brown. And with my Van Dyke Brown, it's nice and sharp. I'm going to just start bringing in that darker detailing. So blend it, taking that fur up and under that head. Is how we're imagining it, up and under. And blending into the neck, so that the shadow is coming into the neck and not the head. And that's how we'll start to make this area look nice and 3D. gonna do that. Right, so then we're gonna take our warm grey 5 again, and I'm gonna go over that Van Dyke brown, blend it outwards, and now we're getting a really nice shadow underneath our neck. Okay, just blending that out, and then here it's a little darker as well. Just coming in with that warm grey 5. Right, I'm now going to take my warm grey 3. So we want to start to lighten up this area, so I'm just going to take that warm grey 3 and blend from that warm grey 4 and 5 outwards. So harder pressure when we're mixing these areas, and then tapering our strokes so that it goes lighter. So I need to darken here a little bit more as well, but we'll get there. Okay, I'm going to take my gold again. And that's just going to act between these areas. Remember, I want everything to be very similar. So whatever colours I've used elsewhere, I'm going to, if I can see them in this area, I'm going to use them. Okay, and then my warm grey 2 over there. Okay, the cinnamon. So this is just to help get this area looking blended. And then the sanguine. Again, I'm just creating fur over the white so that it all looks like it's blending seamlessly. Right, back to the warm grey 4. Just going to bring in, so I'm pressing a little harder now, I'm just bringing in some details. So doing those little V clumps again, leaving gaps, different lengths. And that'll help get us that nice dark bit of fur underneath our fox's head. Here. Okay, right, going back to the warm grey 1, let's see if we can get this section nearly done. Probably have to add a bit of detail in the next part, but... So here we've got fur coming down, so I'm just going to make sure I create that with the base layer as well. Right, so time to do all that again. So back in with the warm grey 4. About to here. And again, I'm making sure that my fur strokes, my pencil strokes, go in the direction of the fur. And you can see how dark we've gone with this white fur. Gone right in with the warm grey 4 and 5. Even the Van Dyke brown. It's getting nice and dark. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, then the Van Dyke brown again, and again going up and under this head, creating those clumps. Blending it outwards. And I'm going to bring that Van Dyke brown in here as well. Okay, back to the warm grey 5 first for the shadow under the head, over that Van Dyke brown. And actually, as we look, it's quite dark here, so I'm just going to use that warm grey 5. Blend downwards. Okay, then I'm going to take my warm grey 4 and just keep bringing that down with those little V shapes, leaving those gaps. As we blend downwards. I'm also going to take my Vista. I can see a bit of that yellowish brown on this side, so I'm just going to bring that in as well, and then I'm going to go over all of this with a warm grey 2. So we'll have to come back in with details, but remember, the more we do this and the more layers we can add, the more depth we're adding to our fur. Okay, so I'm going to come back in with my, oh, that's not Van Dyke brown, my Van Dyke brown, again, just under here, and I'm just going to really start focusing on building up some tonal depth. I'm going to bring it a bit further down the neck here as well. Now remember, I'm doing those little V shapes and leaving little gaps. The V shapes create those clumps of fur. Coming up under here as well. Okay, and then I'm going back to my warm grey 4 first. Just need to blend outwards here a bit better. Again, building up those layers, those V shapes. And then I'll come in with the warm grey 5 back over where it just needs to be darker. So the warm grey 5 is acting as our shadow. Now, if you don't have the warm grey 5 but you've got the dark sepia, use the dark sepia. Again, I'm just coming in and adding, building up depth to our neck of our little fox. Okay, so as we've been doing this, you can see how we're really building up some nice depth and shadows in our fox's neck. Okay, and then I'm going to take that warm grey 2 just along this side of the neck as well. Okay, what do I need in here? I think I'm just going to get my Van Dyke brown. Just blend that round. And then get the warm grey 3. And blend that round in there. Okay, that looks a bit better. Warm grey 5. I am actually going to take my dark sepia. And with the dark sepia, I'm just going to bring in some darker little clumps. The warm grey 5 is just not quite dark enough for. Okay, and then again, I'm just going to go over that warm grey too. And I think I'm going to leave, we need to add a bit more detail here, but this is where that grass strand is, so we'll focus on that in the next part. But I think we're going to leave our little fox here, so let me zoom you out. So this is where we are at the moment. We've got whiskers to add. Obviously we've got to finish the neck off into part of the body. But yeah, I'm really happy. I think our little fox is looking awesome. So I hope you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. We will hopefully be finishing it in the next part. Maybe a bit of a longer tutorial, we'll see. But yeah, any questions, as always, let me know. I'm looking forward to seeing you all trying this little guy. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Bye everybody.